Lightning tore across the sky like a living thing, its veins of light briefly illuminating the lonely research station buried deep in the Arctic tundra. The howling wind slammed against the metal walls, and the endless snow outside shifted and screamed, as if the storm itself were alive. Inside, Dr. Evelyn Cross sat in front of a bank of flickering monitors, her pale face ghosted by their blue light. She had been awake for 37 hours. The signal she'd been hunting, the one she was never supposed to find, had finally answered. By morning, the storm had subsided, leaving a blinding white world eerily still. Dr. Evelyn Cross stood at the mouth of the old drilling shaft, her breath curling in the frozen air. The coordinates pointed directly beneath this spot, a forgotten excavation site abandoned years ago after rumors of equipment failures and psychological disturbances among the workers. She had dismissed those stories as isolation-born folklore. Now, with the faint echo of the signal through her handheld receiver, she wasn't so sure. The metal ladder groaned under her boots as she descended into the darkness. Frost clung to every surface, glinting in the dim light of her headlamp. The deeper she went, the heavier the air felt, pressing against her skull. Her equipment flickered, the signal grew stronger. It wasn't coming from the bedrock, it was being transmitted from something inside it. At the bottom of the shaft, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern hollowed from ice. The ceiling shimmered with trapped bubbles, each holding a distorted reflection of her light. Evelyn's breath caught as she saw it, a colossal, metallic structure jutting from the frozen wall. Its surface was smooth and black, covered in faintly glowing veins of symbols pulsing in rhythm with the signal. She approached cautiously, drawn despite herself. The closer she got, the more she felt a strange vibration thrumming through her bones. Her instruments went dead, screens freezing mid-glow. The air around the object was warm, almost breathing. She reached out a gloved hand and brushed the surface. The moment her fingers made contact, the pulse surged. A blinding flash filled the cavern, and a shrill tone stabbed her ears. Images flooded her mind, swirling lights, shapes that defied geometry, whispers in languages she couldn't recognize. She stumbled back, gasping. The signal had entered her. When her vision cleared, the ice around the object had changed. It was melting slowly, steam curling into the frigid air. The metallic surface rippled, as if something beneath it was moving, waking. Evelyn backed away, her heart hammering. From deep within the structure came a low, resonant sound, a heartbeat that wasn't human. Her breath fogged in the air as static hissed through the radio array. At first it was nothing, the usual cosmic background noise she had studied 1,000 times. Then, between bursts of static, came a pattern, 3 pulses, a pause, then 5. It wasn't random. She froze, her heartbeat quickening. No human transmission followed that rhythm, and no natural source pulsed with such precise mathematics. Evelyn's trembling fingers danced across the keyboard, isolating the frequency. The computer displayed the coordinates. Her stomach turned cold. The origin wasn't deep space as she had expected. It was beneath her, under the ice. She ran the calculations again and again. The numbers didn't lie. The signal reflected upward, as if something below the frozen surface was transmitting directly to her array. Part of her wanted to dismiss it, a glitch, interference, a trick of the storm, but she had seen too many anomalies to ignore this. The pattern repeated, louder this time, almost eager. The entire station flickered. Lights dimmed. The generator faltered, then roared back in a violent buzz. On one monitor, the signal transformed into a jagged pulsing waveform, like a heartbeat on the edge of panic. Evelyn leaned closer, eyes wide. It wasn't juice. A pattern anymore. It was modulating, adapting, responding. A deep rumble echoed from the ice below, so faint she thought she imagined it. The radio crackled, and through the static came a sound that wasn't human, a low, resonant tone that made her teeth ache. Evelyn pressed the headset to her ear, whispering, "What are you?" For a long moment there was only silence. Then, impossibly, the signal answered. Evelyn didn't remember how she made it back to the surface. The last thing she recalled was the heartbeat in the ice and the searing light filling her skull. When she awoke, she was lying on the floor of the station, her clothes damp and streaked with frost. The storm had passed, but the world outside felt wrong, the air heavier, the silence deeper. Every sound seemed delayed, as if time itself hesitated. Her computers flickered again, screens alive with erratic streams of symbols she hadn't programmed. The signal had followed her. It pulsed softly through the speakers, a rhythmic hum matching her own heartbeat. When she cut power, the noise continued, faintly vibrating the walls. It wasn't coming from the machines anymore. It was coming from her. Over the next few hours, Evelyn began to hear whispers, subtle at first, like echoes beneath her thoughts, but they grew sharper, forming fragments of words. The voice didn't speak English, yet she understood. It showed her flashes of alien landscapes, cities suspended in clouds, oceans of liquid light, skies burning with strange constellations. It wanted her to see, to remember. She tried recording the voice, but the microphones captured nothing but static. When she played the recordings back, her own voice came through, speaking sentences she didn't remember saying. Her handwriting began to change too. Notes scrawled across her journals twisted into flowing, spiral-like glyphs that glowed faintly under the lamp. By the second night, the base temperature dropped unnaturally. Frost crept along the ceilings, blooming into shapes mirroring the symbols on the alien artifact. The generator sputtered, then died completely, plunging everything into darkness. Evelyn lit a flare and froze. Footprints were embedded in the thin snow that had blown in through a cracked window. They were large, inhuman, with too many toes. The whispering turned into a low, resonant hum. From the corridor came the scrape of slow, deliberate movement. Evelyn backed away, flare trembling in hand. At the far end of the hallway, something moved through the shadows, its outline shifting and shimmering like heat. It had followed her from the ice. And now, it wasn't alone. Evelyn hadn't slept in days. The thing from the ice no longer hid in the shadows. It lingered in her peripheral vision, a distortion flickering like light through water. When she turned her head, it dissolved into air, but its presence remained. The air inside the station had grown humid and metallic, thick with ozone and decay. Her skin itched constantly, as if her body no longer belonged to her. She noticed the changes first in her reflection. The mirror above the sink showed faint fractures spreading across her pupils like cracks in glass, glowing faintly when the lights went out. Her veins, once blue, now shimmered silver beneath her skin. Sometimes she swore she could see movement beneath it, threads of light pulsing with that same alien heartbeat. It no longer came from the signal, it came from inside her chest. The voice had stopped whispering. It spoke clearly now, using her thoughts like an open channel. Do not fear. You were chosen. Each word echoed in her mind, layered, as if many voices spoke at once. She tried to fight it, clawing at her head, screaming until her throat tore raw, but the voice only grew calmer. It showed her what it wanted, not invasion, but transformation. The entity had been trapped in its frozen prison for millennia. Her contact had awakened it, and in doing so she had become its vessel. The walls began to hum. The floorboards trembled as frost melted away, replaced by a slick organic sheen. Machinery corroded into strange crystalline growths. Evelyn stumbled toward the control room, clutching a flare and a fuel canister. She knew what she had to do. If she couldn't stop it, she could at least contain it. But at the console, her hands refused to obey. Her fingers curled against her will, and the voice surged with warmth and sorrow. We are one now, Evelyn. The lights exploded overhead, casting the room in blinding white. When the rescue team arrived weeks later, the station was silent, half buried in fresh snow. They found no trace of Evelyn Cross, only a shimmering glass-like cocoon embedded in the ice, pulsing faintly, waiting.